It's dark. Not dim, dark. It's the kind of darkness that your eyes don't adjust to. It's the kind of darkness where you lose track of time. You're not sure whether it's morning or night. It's dark, but it's not quiet. The air is filled with sounds, none of them comforting. Distant shouts down the corridor, wailing, sobbing, chains clanging. The smells are pungent, the rats prolific. Every moment that passes reminds him he's running out of time. He's not here by accident. He's not the victim of bad circumstances. He's not misunderstood. He wasn't caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's a convicted criminal, sentenced to death. He has no defense, no argument, no one coming to rescue him. This is how it ends. Until one morning, an unfamiliar sound starts to rise outside the walls. A crowd is gathering. Footsteps come down the passage. Keys jangling. His cell door is opened. He gets ushered out into the corridor. Armed guards take him down towards big heavy doors. The rusty bolts are pulled across and the doors are opened, and a shaft of light penetrates the darkness, blinding him. He steps out into the light. Still trying to focus, he makes out two figures in front of him. The crowd grows louder now. There's a din, such a noise. With eyes watering, he steps out. He makes out two figures. One looks like an ordinary guy, a prisoner, bound like he is. The other one, the one addressing the crowd, is dressed in garments that reek of authority. Choose! He shouts to the crowd. And then he hears it. He hears his name. Barabbas. What? Give us Barabbas. What? Sure. We want Barabbas. Over here is Jesus. Over here is Barabbas. Over here is a man who has done no wrong, who knows no sin, who heals, who raises people from the dead, who opens blind eyes. Over here you have a rebel, a murderer, one who has led an insurrection against Rome. He's guilty on all counts. Surely this is the easiest decision in human history. Over here, one who heals. Over here, one who harms. Over here, one who is innocent. Over here, one who is guilty. Who would you choose? You choose Jesus, right? Surely, it's Jesus. But no. The crowd wants Barabbas. You know, there's so many notable characters in the crucifixion story of Jesus. And for me, they all add something. They add something to the narrative. There's Pontius Pilate. There's Herod. there's Caiaphas, there's Mary Magdalene, there's Mary, the mother of Jesus, John the Beloved, Simon the Serene, Joseph of Arimathea, and of course, Jesus himself. All of these characters add to the story. They do something. And then you get Barabbas. Barabbas seems like an unnecessary distraction. Jesus is on his way to the cross. He's tried. He's sentenced. And here this guy pops up. What is he adding to the story? Yet he appears in all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, in varying lengths and details. It's as if God is saying, I don't want you to miss Barabbas. I don't want you to miss this, because if you don't understand this man, you won't understand the cross. And I know that around the world right now, preachers are preaching Good Friday messages, and they're centered around the cross and the sacrifice that Jesus made for all the world and the power of the blood that was poured out. But I just can't seem to get past Barabbas. And I feel this morning that we need to confront Barabbas before we embrace the cross. So I have a very relevant question for this weekend. Who knows what an Easter egg is? Okay. Some of you are like, of course I know what an Easter egg is. I've got 3 of them already in me from breakfast. My wife had an Easter egg for breakfast the other morning. I wasn't impressed, but when you're pregnant, anything goes. I had no leg to stand on. Okay, I'm not talking about the chocolate-covered marshmallows, though. I'm talking about Easter eggs that you find in movies, games, and TV shows. So an Easter egg is a small hidden detail, reference, or inside joke placed there by the creators for the observant viewer to discover. Let me give you some examples. In Toy Story, a Pizza Planet truck shows up in one scene. That same truck has appeared in every Pixar movie since. Some of you are like, challenge accepted. Pixar movie marathon weekend, here we come. I'm finding that pizza truck. During the coronation scene in Frozen, if you look carefully, you'll spot Rapunzel and Flynn from Tangled in the crowd. That one got some nods in the first service too. Frozen fans. In The Matrix, Neo's passport expires on September 11, 2001. That's probably the eeriest one of the list. Why? When did The Matrix air? 1999. Director of the Marvel movies, Stan Lee. He makes a cameo appearance in every single film. You will spot him if you know what he looks like. Speaking of Marvel, they are the masters of the Easter egg. Okay, the Marvel nerds know. Those guys are like pausing and zooming and like they can see it coming. In every Marvel movie, there are these little Easter eggs that get placed there, hints about something that's coming. And only like 2 or 3 movies down the line, you're like, I see. That's why that character was there. That's why that thing happened. These are called Easter eggs. And some of them are just for fun, but others are often a future reference of what's to come. Now, when it comes to Easter egg creators, God is the OG. He is the man when it comes to Easter eggs. And he puts them all in this book called the Bible. And I want to show you 3 scriptures, Easter eggs that we can find that all point us back to this story of Barabbas. So the first is in Genesis, the second is in Exodus, and the third is in everyone's favorite book, Leviticus. So 2,000 years before Jesus is born, we meet a man named Abraham. And Abraham is married to Sarah, and God promises them a son. But they struggle with infertility, but eventually the promise is fulfilled, as God always does, and a son is born to them, Isaac. And when Isaac is a boy, God says to Abraham, I want you to go and sacrifice your son. So Abraham takes Isaac, and they load up a bunch of wood on their back, and they hike up this mountain called Mount Moriah. When they get there, they build an altar, and he's about to sacrifice his one and only son in faith for what God says. And all of a sudden, he says, stop. Now I know that I can trust you. Now I know that you will do what I ask you. And Abraham looks up and he sees a ram caught in the thicket. And this is the very first example of something called substitutionary atonement. Now, don't fall asleep on me. I know that's a big word for a Friday morning, but you need to stay with me. It's important. So substitutionary atonement. Atonement is basically something that is paid for something that is owed. Kind of like a ransom. Simple. Something that is paid for something that is owed. And when it's substitutionary atonement, that means then what is paid in the place of something else. Okay? So rather than Abraham's only son dying, the ram dies as a substitute. So this is why Abraham says in Genesis 22:14, so Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. That same mountain, Mount Moriah, we later call it Calvary or Golgotha. It's the mountain where Jesus, with wood on his back, hiked up to become the ultimate sacrifice. You see the Easter egg? 500 years later, 1500 BC, the Israelites are enslaved in Egypt. Pharaoh is making them work. He is making them labor and toil, but these are God's people. So God says, I will make a plan. I will free you. And he does that through 10 plagues. So he sends Moses to Pharaoh, and Moses says, let my people go, and Pharaoh says no. So here they come. The frogs, the gnats, the Nile turned to blood. We know the story. And then in the 10th and final plague, he sends the angel of death to sweep over the nations, killing the firstborn sons. And the angel won't discriminate, Israelite or Egyptian, he's coming. So for the Israelite sons not to die, they have to kill a spotless lamb and paint the blood of the lamb on the doorposts. They're to paint some over here, and then some on top that it pulls down, drips down and pulls at the bottom. Did you see it? Some over here, some over here, and some over here that it drips down. This is 1,000 years before anyone had ever seen a cross. It hadn't even been invented yet. But God says, I want you to paint your doorposts with a cross of blood, and the angel of death will pass over, and your firstborn sons will be spared. The week that Jesus died, it was Passover week, the time when they celebrated this event. The meal that he ate, the Last Supper, the one that we celebrate communion from, that was the Passover meal. The day that he died, Good Friday, was the day that they would have killed the spotless lamb. You're seeing all the Easter eggs? Leviticus 16, it teaches us something. It teaches us about something called the Day of Atonement. God gives very specific instructions to Moses for the high priest on what to do on this day. He's to kill a bull and to make a sacrifice for himself to cover his own sins. Then he is to take 2 spotless goats. He kills one of them in this bloody display of a sin offering to the Lord, and the other one he sets free. Leviticus 16:8-10 says he is to cast lots for the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other for the scapegoat. Aaron shall bring the goat whose lot falls to the Lord and sacrifice it for a sin offering. But the goat chosen by Lot as the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to be used for making atonement by sending it into the wilderness as a scapegoat. So one goat dies for the sins of the people. That's substitutionary atonement again. And one is set free. These are all Easter eggs for us to see what is coming. They're like a shadow of what's to come. What's a shadow? A shadow is not the object itself. It's the sun making visible to us what is to come. That's exactly why it says in Hebrews 10:1-4, the law is only a shadow of the good things that are coming, not the realities themselves. For this reason, it can never, by the same sacrifices, repeated endlessly year after year, make perfect those who draw near to worship. Otherwise, would they not have stopped being offered? For the worshippers would have been cleansed once for all and would no longer have felt guilty for their sins. But those sacrifices are an annual reminder of sins. It is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. So God says, I'm going to provide the sacrifice once and for all sins, for all time. I'm going to send my son, Jesus Christ, as the final sacrifice of substitutionary atonement. He would be the goat that dies as the payment for our sins, and we would be the scapegoat. We would be the one who gets to walk free. And here we land ourselves right back in the story of Barabbas. One dies and one is set free. It's the picture. It's the picture of the scapegoat. The picture becomes crystal clear to us. One dies and the other is set free. So while Barabbas is walking off into the sunlight, Jesus is walking to the cross. While Barabbas is breathing freely, Jesus is struggling for every breath, pushing himself up on his nails just to get a breath before sinking back down in absolute agony. Jesus is busy dying while Barabbas is busy living. By now, I'm sure you've realized that Barabbas is not just a historical character that's been woven into the crucifixion story. Barabbas is a mirror. Barabbas is me. Barabbas is you. We are Barabbas. We have all sinned. We're all guilty. We all deserve punishment. Romans 3:23 says, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Not some, not the obviously bad dudes like Hitler, not the guys who made the headlines this week. All have sinned. All are guilty. And the wages of sin is death. There's a price to pay. And Jesus stepped in and he paid it. But we must realize that it's our sin that put Jesus on the cross. It's our sin. We put him there. We are the nails that went through his hands and feet. It's our sin. Theologian John Stott says, before we can see the cross as something done for us, we have to see the cross as something done by us. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace, it was on him. You know, that cross had my name on it. It was meant for me. I was a liar. I was a cheat. I cursed and blasphemed. I got drunk and did drugs. I lusted and fornicated. It's me. I'm guilty. That cross was for me. But he took the fall and he let me walk free. He didn't do it because I asked him to. He didn't do it because I deserved it. He didn't even do it thinking or knowing that I would reciprocate, that I would even appreciate it. There was no guarantee. He did it out of love. He did it out of love for you and love for me. Here's the tension of Good Friday. You know, we know this stuff. It's the same message every year. It's the cross. We know what happened. We know why it happened. But it's an altogether different thing to live it. To live in the reality of what Jesus paid for us. Something needs to drop from here to here. Something needs to drop into our hearts. We've got to get out of this head knowledge thing and let it rest in our hearts. Because if Barabbas is really a mirror, and that cross really had my name on it, and if Jesus really stepped in and took my place so that I could go free, then this can't just be a moment that we remember once a year. This can't just be a thing that we gather around, a ceremony where we remember the cross. It has to change the way we live every single day. So what does it actually look like? What does it look like to be one who walked away free? Number one, you stop trying to earn what's already been paid for. I both love and hate the story of Barabbas. And the thing that confuses me the most, that I just wish I knew, is how does it end? How does it end for Barabbas? We just hear that he was released. What happens then? Does he walk off into the crowd and at some point mouth a thank you to Jesus, like, so great, appreciate it? Does he eventually surrender his whole life to him? Or does he just walk away with not an ounce of gratitude? I'd love to know what happens in that story. It's a question that will remain unanswered, but something that we do know is that there is no mention of him arguing the verdict. He doesn't come back and say, hey, hang on, I'm not so sure about that. Like, can we just think about it? Can we do a revote? He doesn't come back to Pilate and say, just give me 18 months. I'll pay it in full. I'll sort it out. I'll settle the account. He just accepts the verdict and he walks out free. And he'd be crazy not to. Why would he not do that? He had a death sentence and someone else took his place so that he could go free. Many of us don't know how to live like that. We love the theology of grace, but we don't know how to put it in practice. We don't know how to live in the practice of it. We say things like, I'll serve more. I'll pray more. I'll clean up my life. I'll do better next time. As if we owe it. As if we owe something to God. And it's not out of a place of love always. It's just like, I feel this responsibility, Lord, to pay for something, to pay for my freedom, to give back something to you, to justify my release. But if Jesus truly took our place fully, what are we trying to pay for? What are we trying to pay for? Someone needs to hear this. Your extra effort doesn't make God love you anymore. And your failures and your shortcomings, they don't make him love you any less. The price that was paid for you is not based on your performance. We sang it this morning. Not about performance, perfection. It's based on the mercy of God. The ironic thing is that as you lean into the grace of God, these things will probably come. They will change. You will serve more. You will pray more. You will clean up your life. You will do all of these things, but not out of a place of earning the grace, but out of coming out of that place of having the grace in your life to do those things. Romans 5 verse 8 says, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. You can't earn it. Before you even knew him, he was willing to die for you. You don't deserve it. All you can do is receive it. People who have walked away free stop trying to earn what's been paid for and accept it as the gift that it is. You don't live to earn God's love. You live from God's love. Number 2, you stop living like you're still in chains. Imagine if Barabbas showed up on Saturday, back in prison. He was like, hey guys, can I sit for a bit? Can I come back? Would you just put the shackles on just for nostalgia's sake? I want to feel what it was like. I just want to remember. Imagine he kept going back to that prison. We would say, lock him up, he's mad. He's nuts, he's lost it. But isn't this what we do? We keep coming back to the same prisons, the same things that hold us captive. We keep coming back to our same addictions, our same patterns, our same thoughts. We keep repeating these things. Many Christians are forgiven legally, but imprisoned emotionally. Jesus has already taken our place. The verdict has already been handed down. The chains have already been removed. And yet we still live like prisoners. We still think like prisoners. we still act like prisoners. You see, chains, they don't just leave marks on your wrists. They leave patterns in your mind. And when you've been bound long enough, you start to become familiar with those patterns. You start to get used to living in a limited space, in a confined area. You learn how to survive. You stop expecting freedom. So even when the door opens, you hesitate. Freedom is unfamiliar to you. And some of us are standing in open door moments with prison-like thinking. Jesus didn't just die to remove your chains. He died to restore your identity. So if you keep living like you're bound, you're not understanding what he did, and you're misrepresenting who you actually are. And at some point, Barabbas had to make a decision. He was freed. He could go, but he could also stay. He could just stay there. And so many of us are in the same situation. We've been freed. The price has been paid. Jesus flung open the prison doors. Yet we stay there because it's comfortable. We like it. It's familiar. Jesus paid for it, but we need to activate it. We need to step out into it. We need to take a step out of the prison. The door is open. The shackles have been removed. We need to step out of them. We need to walk in the freedom that Jesus paid for. It's not just something he gives. It's something that we need to step into. So stop revisiting the cells that God has already flung open. Stop rehearsing the guilt that's already been forgiven. And stop agreeing with the voice that Jesus silenced. Lift your head. Straighten your back. Stomach in. Chest out. Step into freedom. Be bold. Take a step out. Get out of your comfort zone. Get into the growth zone. Get into what God has paid for. Number 3, you live like someone who's been set free. Again, I'd so love to know what that Saturday looked like for Barabbas. There were 3 crosses. 2 of them were taken, and one of them had his name on it. Yet Saturday comes and he's walking free, and Jesus is hanging on his cross. I'd love to know where he was. What was he doing? Was he watching from a distance? Was he moved? Was he sobbing? Or was he just frolicking in a meadow somewhere, just enjoying life? I'd love to know what happened. But surely that did something to him. Surely that substitution did something to him. He was given a second chance at life. What did he do with it? I'd love to know what he did with it. And we can ask ourselves, what have we done? Because not only have we been given a second chance at life, we've been given new life. We are new creations. What are we doing with it? How are we living with this gift that's been given to us? How are you living differently, knowing that the cross with your name on it has been taken by Jesus? Good Friday is not just meant to make us feel something. It's meant to make us reorder our lives, to live differently. Surely if my life has been redeemed, I'm going to forgive differently. I'm going to serve differently. I'm going to worship differently. I'm going to love differently. Something has to change when confronted with the price that Jesus paid. And it's not out of guilt. It's out of gratitude. It's out of gratitude for what he did. One died so that another could go free. I'm going to end with a story, and we're going to do communion, so the ushers can just send the elements around. And if I can have the band back on stage, please. So there's a story that's told by a pastor who comes up on stage carrying a rusty, bent out of shape bird cage. And he sets it next to him on the podium. And as the puzzled looks come from the congregation, he tells the story. I was walking through town yesterday when I saw a young boy coming toward me, swinging this bird cage. On the bottom of the cage, there were 3 little wild birds, shivering with cold and fright. I stopped the young man and asked, "What do you got there, son?" "Just some old field birds," he replied. "What are you going to do with them?" I asked. "Take them home and have some fun with them. I'm going to play games with them and pull out their feathers and make them fight. We're going to have a real good time. But you'll get tired of those birds sooner or later. What will you do then?" "Oh, I've got some cats. They like birds. I'll watch the cats kill and eat them." The pastor, moved with compassion, was silent for a moment. "How much do you want for those birds, son?" "Why, you don't want them birds, mister. They're just plain old field birds. They don't sing. They ain't even pretty. You can get all you want right over there. They're not that hard to catch." "How much?" The boy sized up the pastor as if he were crazy and said, $10. To his surprise, the pastor reached in his pocket and took out 2 $5 bills. He placed them in the boy's hand, and in a flash, he was gone. The pastor picked up the cage and gently carried it to the end of the alley where there was a tree in a grassy spot. Setting the cage down, he opened the door and by softly tapping the bars, persuaded the birds out, setting them free. Well, that explained the empty cage on the pulpit. And then the pastor began to tell another story. One day, Satan and Jesus were having a conversation. Satan had just come from the Garden of Eden and he was gloating, bragging, "Yes, sir, I just caught a world full of humans down there. Set me a trap, used bait I knew they couldn't resist. I got them all." "What are you going to do with them?" asked Jesus. "Oh, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to teach them how to hurt each other, how to hate and abuse each other, how to abuse their own bodies with drink and drugs, how to shoot each other and make bombs and kill each other. Whoa, this is going to be fun." "And what will you do when you get done with them?" Jesus asked. "I'll never get done watching them suffer." "How much do you want for them?" "You don't want those people. They ain't no good. Why, you take them and they'll just hate you. They'll spit on you, curse you, torture you, and kill you. They just care about themselves. You don't want those people." "How much?" Satan looked at Jesus and sneered. "All your tears, all your blood, your life for theirs." Jesus took the cage, paid the price, and opened the door. That's the gospel. The cage is ours. The price is his. And we get to walk away free.